everyone, I'm extremely lucky to be interviewing the brilliant Norman Jorgensen today. Norman is the author of many incredible books such as The Smugglers Curse, The Wrecker's Revenge, The Little Viking, and much more. His book, The Smugglers Curse, has also won the WA Young Readers Book Award of 2017, and he has also been lucky enough to work with many talented illustrators too. I find Norman to be an inspirational author because of how he writes about historical events in fun stories and encourages kids to read and write. He also gets kids excited about learning, and I think that that's really awesome. If you didn't get to watch our interview from Booktoberfest 2019, don't panic. I'll post the link down below so you can check out that video of awesomeness. Norman, thank you for letting me grill you again.
Absolute pleasure. It's great to catch up with you. And good to see you looking so well.
Are you ready to get started?
Let's do it.
If you were a pirate in the late 19th century, what would be your rank or job?
I took a while to think about that one. I decided I'd like to be the navigator on a pirate ship. I like maps, and when I was in the Scouts, I did a lot of work with. Well, that's how I learned how to read maps and how to draw them, and follow them, which is the important thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think I'd like to be the navigator on a pirate ship.
That's a really cool job. I'm horrible with maps. Like, that was my least favorite part about Scouts.
Oh.
Like, I get it's a valuable skill, but I just
especially if you're lost.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it's just, maps were never my good thing.
Oh. When I was in the Scouts, and I was about 17, 16, we had to go on a really long walk following the map references. Ended up in the middle of Mundaring Weir, and from Kalamunda was miles and miles, and I think we might have had the map upside down. So we're never quite sure where we were. So after that I paid a lot more attention.
You love to torture poor Red, and honestly, although I feel sorry for him, I do like to read about it because it's hilarious. It's hilarious. What was your favourite thing to write about when you're torturing poor Red in your books?
The things I did to Red?
Yep.
Oh,
Torturing him.
there's one scene which is quite relevant at the moment. They're sailing a stolen lugger from Cocos Island back to Perth, or back to Broome, where they're from, and the crew get typhoid, and they all collapse, and Red is the only one still going, so he has to captain the ship night and day by himself, put the sails up, steer, put them down, and all meanwhile worrying that his crew are all dying, and they look like they are dying. Then the ship starts to spring a leak, and they're miles from anywhere in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and he knows that his time might soon be up because the ship's going to sink without anyone knowing what happened to them. And I dragged that scene out for a fair while, and my editor really liked it, and she said she thought it was a bit of epic storytelling, so I was very proud of that. And so Red catching a terrible disease just like COVID. Well, he didn't catch it, everyone else did. I was pleased with that scene. I thought that was a terrible thing to do to him, and it made a lot of stress in his life.
I definitely found that was brilliantly written. I was reading and I'm like, wow, I don't think he's going to survive this.
And I broke all the rules when I was writing too. There's no conversation. It's all from what he can see. No one to talk to, hardly. And it's it's just a straight description from page after page, which you don't normally do when you're writing fiction.
Yeah, you generally had a little bit of dialogue, but I think it was brilliant the way it was just all description. Because you make him think like he's alone, he's all going to die, and then it just makes it all amazing.
Oh, and then that other ship goes by where they've all died of typhoid. And it's a ship full of dead bodies.
And then it's just like, that's going to be us soon.
Yeah, and the seagulls are eating them. I got a bit carried away there. Not for the first time.
I thought it was perfect there.
Thank you.
You mentioned Anne Bonny in your book as one of Red's ancestors' friends.
Mm-hmm.
Was this a hint at Meg Caddy's book that was based, or was it based off a real pirate somewhere else?
Oh no, it is. I think Meg might have been a bit of an inspiration because she belongs to the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, like you do and I do. And every year we go to Rottnest. And one year I was sharing a cabin with Meg and a few other people. We're having breakfast together, and she and I were talking pirates because she studied piracy at university. Yeah.
Have you?
Did you
Yeah,
could do that?
I remember that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
And so this is early on. I think she was still working on Ware at the time, but obviously Anne Bonny and Mary Read were the two female pirates were in her mind. And I liked to, I think I was showing how much I knew about pirates as well. And so, and I'd started work on the Smugglers Curse, and I think that's where I picked up the idea from discussions with Meg. And she's lovely, and I'm really, really jealous of her. Like her first book's a huge success. The second book is sold in America, and it's about pirates, female pirates, and she's going to have a fantastic career, and I'm very proud of her. But yeah, jealous as all hell because I haven't sold any books in America yet. Oh, only one. Yeah.
I think that makes amazing, and I love that you have her in this because when I read that I was like, oh, it's Anne Bonny. Yes.
It's about 200 years apart, my pirates and her pirates.
But still,
yeah.
you have Anne Bonny. I
And
love the reference.
You know, you never had any idea where the ideas come from, and just having breakfast with Meg Gaddy sparked a chapter in the book, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. I love her.
I admire her for what she's doing now.
She's a brilliant writer.
And she works in a bookshop. How cool is that, eh?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Dream job.
Yeah. Good.
I love how it's set in WA.
Oh, yes.
In the last book, they travelled up to Broome.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to all the places in this? And what was your favourite place to go to?
Absolutely. I've been to everywhere I write about. I make a point of doing that. I don't think you can describe something if you haven't been there. No, and it's not just what you see; it's what you taste and smell and hear and feel. And you have to be in a place to put all of those authentic details in. So I do make an absolute point of going to everywhere I write about. And I do try and set my books in WA. I'm stuck to that rule for nearly every book. And part of the reason for that is when I was your age, every book that I ever read was set in England. And I'd never been there, and I was never going to get there. I was 14 years old. You don't get to go normally. So when I got published, I made a rule of, I think it's not fair that kids in Western Australia have to read about books in England. So I set all mine in Western Australia. And so I'm quite proud of that. Yeah.
That's really cool. I love that because, you don't really read about Western Australia.
No, it's not that common, is it? It's a bit better now because you've been interviewing some of the authors.
We have so many amazing authors.
Yeah.
We have so many incredible Western Australian authors.
Something's really happened in the last few years. When I first started, there was hardly anybody. Elaine Forrester was writing, and me, and then Freya Lassac and Mark Greenwood came along. And then from then onwards, there's been a lot more. Now I think Scribby, Society of Children's Book Writers, got about 120 members. About half of them have been published, so that's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
There is a third book in the series coming. How is that going?
I finished. I knew you wanted it in a hurry, so I thought I'd better finish it before I saw you. I handed it in to my publisher, Kate Sutherland of Fremantle Press. It's called Dragon's Blood. It's number 3 in this series, and just follows on. You know Mrs. Crawford, who they rescued from Cocos Island? They get her back to Broome. Well, she'd been working for the King of Siam, teaching his children how to English. And it's the King of Siam's 30th birthday, or 30th anniversary on the throne, so he gives all the people who work for him a box of jewels. And so Mrs. Crawford's got to go back to Siam, to Thailand, to collect the jewels, and an elephant. He's given her an elephant as well. And so she hires the Red Dragon to take her back to Siam. When they get there, the British ambassador calls him in and said there's been a huge big revolution in China, and all these missionaries are trapped and they're under attack, and we want you to go and rescue them because you've got the fastest boat around. So they have to go off to China and rescue all these missionaries from the marauding hordes. And they get involved in a thing called the Boxer Rebellion, which took place in 1900 in China. And so
that's very action-packed. I can't wait.
Oh, it is. Lots and lots of action, lots of guns going off, just like the others. Yeah. You can't do too many
for Red to die.
Yes, absolutely. quite a few.
But that's one of the parts about being a writer. You make a character, and then you get to torture them as much as you like.
Yep, absolutely. He survives. I Spoiler alert.
Well, he's kind of the main character. You can't exactly kill him if it's in his point of view.
No, not at all. It's one of the unwritten rules. You don't go killing too many children in your stories.
Yeah, not too many, just
No.
enough to get it published.
Although you need a few tears, don't you?
Yeah, you
And
need
they said
the
if-
tear-jerking scene.
Yeah, if there's no tears from the writer, there won't be from the reader. So yeah, although the other day I was working on a scene and I decided I'd kill off Red's girlfriend. I'd give her tuberculosis, and give tuberculosis, and she dies and fades away, and you can have a tear-jerking scene that way. But I was writing it, and I got so upset that I thought, I'm not going to do this. Like, I scrapped it and started again.
Oh,
So they survive and have a romance.
good. I was hoping for that. If Blackthorn was around today and simulated into modern life, how do you think he would be behaving during this pandemic? What would he be up to?
Yes, back in 1900, when the story set, there was an awful lot of disease. There was cholera and typhoid, and even in Geraldton they had the Black Death, bubonic plague, because they had too many rats, open drains, and so yeah, they were well aware of the pandemics that we have now. But I think Captain Bowen, because of that, would have taken himself off to maybe back to Cocos Island and sat on the beach and enjoyed his isolation that way, don't you?
That's what I would have done. And a lot of toilet paper, apparently. Because that was the thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I imagine he wouldn't have put himself in too much danger.
Yeah.
Although he is good at putting himself in danger, isn't he? He goes off on all sorts of adventures where people
The
shoot at him.
sharks.
But yeah, I think he would have just taken himself off to a tropical island till it was all passed.
Well, I mean, if you're a pirate, if you have a boat, why not?
And he's got all the money in the world. He's rolling in it. Yeah, so he
Exactly.
doesn't
Why
have to go to
not?
work every day.
Why not?
Yep.
Now on to the speed questions. 10 seconds.
Oh,
What are you writing at the moment?
I'm trying to fire myself up because I've just finished. I sort of handed in Dragon's Blood, and there's a bit of a lull because it's going to be 70,000 words to start another one, and so I'm a bit resistant to start, even though I know I should. Because I'm writing, it's supposed to write. That's what you do, isn't it? You've got to write every day. But it's a picture book I wrote some time ago, needs finishing, called Castaways on Desert Island. It's an island made of sugar, with the beaches are made of sugar, and the palm trees are mint leaves, and the lake in the middle is full of lemonade, and the volcano spews out hot chocolate, and some kids get cast away on this island and eat themselves sick.
I mean, if you're surrounded on an edible island, I mean, why not?
I got a problem though. Do I turn it into adventure, or do they just eat the island? And
You eat the island, then you have to swim back to civilization.
or they've got pictures. If it's a picture book, if they eat a mint leaf off a tree, does the page show through it? Or they eat a gingerbread house, eat the whole house, and then the shape of a house will show through, and they'll be white pages until eventually the whole island is just white because they've eaten it all. Pretty tragic, isn't it? Well, it gives me an adventure.
Yeah.
I'll see how it goes. Most of the time I don't know in advance what's going to happen. I'll sit there like this and it appears in front of me, and I'm just as surprised as you are. I don't think it's not a bad way to be, is it?
Have you tried a new flavour of ice cream lately that you just...
Oh yeah, I have Maggie Beer's burnt fig.
Ooh.
That's worth getting. It's only in tiny little black containers, but oh, yeah, it's
Tasty.
fantastic. Worth trying. Yeah. Probably costs as much as a house as well.
Which book character do you or have you had a crush on?
I had a boy crush on Atticus Finch from the lawyer in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Ooh.
He was a decent, upstanding sort of character, and the sort of person I would have liked to have been. He fought against racism back in the deep south of America, and in a whole town turned on him, but he wouldn't give up on his principles. And I think I'd like to be an Atticus Finch.
Well, I think that's a really, really cool character. He sounds amazing. What was your worst subject in school?
Maths. No, I can't decide. It's sport or maths. I was really bad at sport, and I hated all the sports teachers. And even though it's not their fault that I'm bad at sport, and I hated maths with a passion, and I hated all maths teachers, and I still do. I think they're a waste of space. Not really. Some of my best friends are maths teachers.
Some maths teachers are nice, as long as they don't try to shove it down your throat constantly.
I just don't get it. There's no creativity in maths. Once you know the answer, it
takes away the fun, because you're like, oh, you struggle to find the solution to this problem, and then it's like,
found it.
Yeah. I'm done. I know how to do this.
Then they give you another one.
Yeah. It's like,
You can't, there's nowhere to go.
who is your favourite or most inspirational author this year?
Elaine Forrester. Even though I've known her for 30 odd years, she wrote a book called Goldfields Girl.
Oh yeah, I read that.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an amazing book.
Yeah, and Elaine's a great friend, so I can hear her voice coming out in it. But also, it reminded me of my great grandmother, and my grandmother, both Goldfields women at the same time.
Oh.
So it was a bit like being a family story. And I've since had dinner with Elaine a few times, and we've discussed it. And I loved the amount of research she put in it. I love I was talking about you've got to go to all the places, and she went to the goldfields and sat there under a tree and the blowflies and the sun on her, and imagining what it was like 100 years ago. It actually hasn't changed that much. It wouldn't have been hard to imagine. And so I was really, really pleased that she did such a great job of it.
Yeah, she's an amazing author.
She's lovely, yeah.
Would you prefer to be isolated on an island or in a forest?
Well, when I was writing Records Revenge, I settled on Cocos Island, and I went there for Book Week, and that's where I got the idea from. And it's perfect. It's just tropical island. There's white beaches, big white beaches. The water's clear and warm. There's palm trees everywhere. Soft breeze every afternoon. It couldn't be better. That's where I'd be. Frost can be a bit scary too.
Yeah.
The dark, the
fog.
What?
Fog.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Foggy.
Yeah.
Forests.
And if you've read enough fairy tales, you know something terrible's going to happen to you.
Yeah. It's fairy tale logic. If you're in a forest, something's going to go wrong.
Or a Tasmanian tiger's going to walk by. Or snakes. I hate snakes. Oh.
What's the weirdest place or thing you got inspiration from?
The weirdest? Oh, it wasn't a place. It was a person. My sister-in-law, Elspeth. She was the youngest of a big family. They had 12 or 13 children, and the older kids used to tease her, and she was small, and they used to tease her. And her other next brother up used to call her Dafty, the daft one, and which is pretty mean, and because she's not the least bit daft. Anyhow, one day, she was standing in front of those big open fireplaces, and he's teasing her, Dafty, Dafty, Dafty. And so she ran forward, she pushed him into the fire. He slammed down, got all his bum burnt. Anyway, he never called her Dafty anymore after that. He didn't stop teasing her. But she was telling me this story, and imagine what twigged in my head was imagine being called that, being the Dafty. And so I invented a character called Dafty, and I put him in a book called Jack's Island.
Oh.
He's a secondary character in Jack's Island. And so, that's... Elspeth lives in Scotland, and I said, Jack's Island, I'm writing this island here, so the worlds apart, years apart, but so the inspiration's not even the least bit related, but it's what went on in my head. The links that you jump to get somewhere.
Totally unique inspiration.
The other one, I think I told you about the Lighthouse when we did that last interview.
Oh yeah,
the Lighthouse up in the Shetland Island. That was a good one. And then when I was doing all the smuggler research, there's a place called Port Isaac down in Cornwall.
Yeah.
And that reminded me of all the books I read as a kid. Like I said, they're all set in England. A lot of them seem to be set in Cornwall. And so I think I got some really good ideas there too, because I was making me remember the stuff I read as a kid. And you know, I've got to pretend you're 12 if you're writing for 12-year-olds. So it just took me back to when I was 12.
If you could live in any book, which one would you pick?
I could live in any. There's a book called Swiss Family Robinson. Do you know that? It's years old. and it's a Castaway story again. But the people, the Robinson family, make themselves this fantastic treehouse, massive, in a Moreton Bay fig tree, and there's decks and there's rooms and lounge rooms and bathrooms, and it's higher and higher and higher, and they've got a lift that they get an elephant to haul up their stuff, and it was like in the book and in the Disney film of it, they did a great job. That'd be a really cool place to live. Yeah, so
With the infinite.
yeah, and it's a bit of fantasy because it's an island off Sumatra, I think, but it's got every single wild animal. There's lions and tigers and zebras and all the stuff that couldn't be there. And there's pirates as well.
Because I know you got to have some pirates in there.
Yeah.
What's your biggest achievement so far?
At the beginning, you said I got the Young Readers Book Award, West Australian Young Readers Book Award. I've won it 4 times.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
and it's Children's Choice Award. It's not a lot of middle-aged librarians sitting around deciding my book's good. It's kids that read it, that vote on it,
Aww.
and they have good and excellent and not for me. I think, and I've got enough excellence to win the award 4 times. So I think that's
so
a huge
good.
achievement. That kids are voting on books that I wrote for them that they like, and they're liking it. Yeah.
Do you have any advice to share with young writers?
Yeah, I can spend the rest of the day doing that if you want. If you're going to be a writer, the first thing you do is write. And a lot of people say, I'm going to write a book one day. It's never going to happen. You've got to sit down and you've got to do it every day. And it's like playing music or being good at sport. You've got to practice over and over and over. Your writing muscle is the same as the muscles you use for playing music. And if you don't practice every day, you never get any good at it. And so it's just practice. The more you do, the better you get. Yeah, so that's the main bit of advice. The other one too, write about what you know. And it's a bit of a cliche, but I had a friend who used to write crime books, and he set them in New York, and he could never get them published. I said, "You've never been to New York. Then why write about New York?" He said, "Oh, it's cool." I said, "Yeah, well, until you've been there, don't write about New York. Set them in Perth." Finally, when he got round, he wrote a book, set it in Perth, and it got published. Wasted all those years writing about a place he'd never been. Because, as I said, you've got to go there to where you're writing about, so you can use all your senses. You've got to know what the place smells like, it feels like, it looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how's that? 2 bits of advice?
Beautiful advice.
Good.
Thank you so much for letting me interview you. This has been fantastic.
That's always a delight. Thank you very much, and good luck with getting it all out in October. You're publishing, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Make sure to check out Norman Jorgensen on his social media so we can share his incredible books.